I'm going to do.
This meeting is being recorded.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's right. We were going to do several different layouts. And, my first inclination when I was standing on site was like, oh, it'd be very nice. Everything could be very symmetrical. And, you could sort of go down on either side. Quickly realized we just simply didn't have enough room to be able to come out. Gary, if you look at the last one we just looked at for a second. So you can see for this to be code compliant, we were basically, the landing and the first floor elevation, are in essence equal. You need to have enough space on either side of the door or a required dimension to be able to pull the door open. That really wasn't a problem. And you need space beyond the door as well. So, in terms of egress, the thing that actually was problematic is we need 4 feet width between the rails on that stair. And you see in plan, by the time we get a 4 foot wide stair out in front of those piers that are on either side of the doorway, when you come down along the sidewalk, there's just not enough space left to accomplish that. There's really only a couple of feet between the curb and the stair. So that simply wasn't going to work. And then we looked at, I think it was called option 1, which basically we thought, well, maybe we could just go down on the one side and still there just simply wasn't enough space to accomplish that. So really the only way to get a code compliant stair there that meets both egress concerns as well as ADA concerns is really to come straight out, but we have to start the landing earlier. So, this basically is taking a door that's at where we currently have the interior vestibule door, and that basically becomes the exterior door. We would have to eliminate that outer set of doors and basically sink back the entry to be able to come down, in a code compliant way. It does obviously eliminate the weather vestibule inside the building. So, that is obviously always a concern. And I know you got the post offices right there. So I wanted to make sure that, everybody was aware of, that would be a situation that we would have to deal with. So, in terms of the, options, I mean, really to provide something that's going to, meet both egress and ADA, I mean, this is really our only option to be able to accomplish that.
I have a quick question, if possible, Mark.
Sure. Yep.
This is Matt, in case you can't see me on the camera. So option 3 is knocking out the vestibule and setting the landing back. And it looks like a similar step setup as to what we have now, just more just ADA compliant. But why couldn't you do that with either of the first 2 designs? Is there a limitation to why you can't do that? Or I didn't observe.
Yeah, if you go back, there you go. So when you're looking at it, in this one or the other one, sort of irrelevant. As you come through those doors, you get out onto the landing, and the thing that's really governing at that point is the width of the stair going up. We have to have it 4 feet wide, and that's the concern. So you get 4 feet out in front of those piers, you're too close to the curb line. So
Gotcha.
unless we're prepared to move the curb, that's the concern there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Tom Bergen, Mark, the other two options to me are more aesthetically pleasing. But we do lose the under the most practical and sensible, I guess, solution. You don't get a different look, really. You just lose the exterior door and that brief little distance between the exterior door and the interior door. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And just to follow up, is that I would assume that's a less expensive option.
It is probably roughly the same, I would guess, by the time you're all done, because what we're going to have to do is to, where that current floor is in that vestibule, at the moment, that's just, wood framing in there. So we're going to have to, basically change out some of the framing under that little piece right there and, put in a, concrete slab right at that spot.
Understood. Thank you.
I like it's Kim. I like this option a lot. Just being in the office and coming in and out of that space very often. I think eliminating that second door is going to be a plus. Those two doors are very close together. And we've had obviously issues with people sort of coming in and tripping either on the stair or fumbling with the second door. It doesn't offer much by way of protection from the cold air coming in, and obviously with a new door that'll help seal it up as well. But I think it offers a different aesthetic for the front of the building. It creates a little bit of a weather protection area, coming into the building, opening the door out, fumbling with an umbrella, and you can be under the a header there a little bit. So that's a little nicer coming in if it's bad weather. And I think we can make use of the interior wood that's in the vestibule at the second door, because that's where the new door will be. I think it could create a nice little landing, including as part of the building instead of just being on a concrete slab there. So I think it could be nice.
Yep.
The vestibule was too tiny anyway. It was just always filled with rock salt and people returning printer cartridges. So no great loss there. And garbage.
So is the intent that the what is now the inner door that will become the exterior door, that whole thing will be replaced with a weather tight new door?
We'll look at the frame that's there, and if the door is wide enough, then we could potentially salvage those side lights in the frame, and then basically provide a new door with weather stripped and everything else. If it's not wide enough, we would then have to modify it.
Thank you.
But I believe it is.
Did you
Are we
have
gonna-
any
Oh, sorry.
estimate on the cost of this?
We have not provided any cost estimate for this. It was, at that point, it was really sort of meant as a discussion point to, let folks know, which way it was headed and have some feedback on it. The other piece that was brought out in the same email that this had come up was there is some roof drains. The village hall basically dumps out, between the ramp and the building, and that water basically just ponds there at the moment. And so, we brought that issue up and in terms of, where you might want that to go. So I do know that Kim had reached out to Lamont engineers to, see if there was a line that ran up Burlington, and there is not, but there is a line that's across the street over in the park, apparently. So, it would, to be able to connect to that, we would have to, basically cross the street with the line and connect to that catch basin over there. So that's simply an open-ended question for you guys as to how you want to address that.
Any more questions on front stairs?
Only in that I think, given what he presented, it would be nice to get a quote on the version that makes most sense there. I can't remember which one it was there, but the one Kim was advocating or mentioning, which
Option number 2.
yeah, I'd like to know how much roughly, rough it out.
Mhm.
We might incorporate it into our whole plan or just break it out individually. Because I don't know whether we're going to have a, priority list for the village hall. So
It would make sense to do that work along with the ramp. Those two things I would suggest, if you can, to do them at the same time.
okay.
Okay, so now we will move on to the building conditions report.
So the building condition report was really generated out of when we did the master plan for the auditorium. It was, in our mind, it looked like a lot of the structure was, substandard. So we had suggested going after a Preserve New York grant, which funded most of the building condition report. And because we knew that most of that was going to need to be going to the structural engineer and the cost estimator to do that, most of what you see in the building condition report is a rehash of the conditions assessment that was included in the original master plan, with additional information that comes, from the structural engineer. So Appendix A in that report is really related to this new structural assessment, and then the cost estimate, which has just been finalized, that will become, the final appendix in this. So presumably from this point, what really will need to happen is this structural investigation that has happened identified some pretty serious structural concerns. And actually, yes, you can leave it right here for the moment, Gary. And, there's a lot of undersized members. We obviously knew, that the bell tower framing had some rot in it that would have to be addressed. But the other thing that frankly came up was that when they did, their analysis, the lateral stability of the building, is really inadequate. So the problem is, if you have a high wind event, the structural frame is just not size to be able to handle that. Now, I work with this particular structural engineer on a lot of historic structures. They are very, very good at what they do. They are not, overly conservative. They're pretty straight on. And so the things that really need to be done, in our estimation, is this lateral load resistance. So it's when they do that assessment, they look at lateral pressures could be, seismic, or they could be wind. Since we're in a very low seismic area, it's really wind is what is the governing factor here. But there will need to be some structural improvements that can take a variety of different things. So that could mean that you're putting steel plates on certain connections to be able to stiffen them. It might mean that you are adding, sister members next to an existing member. These are some of the ways that, that frame can basically be strengthened. Since this report was a condition report and they were basically identifying, the problem areas, this is not a design report where they're designing the solution. We're basically making some, generalized statements. Somebody is going to have to go in and actually do, structural design to provide the exact remedy that would happen. And so the costs associated with these at the moment is a reasonable budget number, but it will need to be updated when, very specific designs, come out of, looking at this much more closely. So in addition to that lateral load resistance that needs to be accomplished, the bell tower, I think everybody is aware, has some rot. And because of the condition of some of the connections, or lack thereof, at least in one spot that I recall, it's pretty significant. Now, one of the things that we had looked at in the master plan was, from a programmatic standpoint, it would be nice to have an addition that sort of wrapped around the backside, providing, some additional spaces and such. That would actually help the structure as well as the bell tower, because we were actually going to, wrap the whole sides. However, some of this stuff simply needs to happen, well before that is likely to happen. So, again, this is one of the things that, is toward the top of the list in terms of, the improvements that are required. The truss members, again, we have undersized truss members as well as some of the framing there, especially on the south end where you have longer spans, and that's over the organ case. It's actually one of the things that was, immediately obvious when I was looking at it, because you could see some of the bowing and some of those wood members, over time. The organ case itself, the clearance, you have one of the existing roof trusses that is, they obviously put in the steel column in the past to try to alleviate some of that pressure on the case. it's still up against it and maybe continuing to bow it. One thing that when they were looking at that, they couldn't see how that that load path really got from that steel column. It didn't immediately show where it was coming into below grade. So it's going into the framing of the stage floor, and the stage floor in and of itself is doing pretty good, but the some of the girders, if you actually used the loading that modern code would suggest, then the girders are undersized. Now, typically, we're not loading up all of those risers with folks. That's actually you see actually number 10 where it says undersized stage beams. Probably not as critical as some of the other things that are up higher. And a lot of the issues do appear to be damage relative to moisture infiltration. So just the whole exterior envelope, weather tightness, we know we have siding and flashings and so forth that are allowing moisture to get at the structure, and that is something that should be addressed both from the standpoint of those materials as well as from a structural standpoint. I think lastly, that the only one that I didn't touch on there is really in terms of the pier foundations. We don't know how deep those foundations go. We suspect that they don't go deep. And between the piers, there's basically just concrete infill. It doesn't really go below frost. And you can see in many areas it pretty much just goes to grade. So that is something that we would suggest those actually get foundations that go below frost. And that's something that again is lower on the priority list than some of these other things. I mean, the biggest issue, frankly, is the high wind situation. And frankly, if there's an event like that coming, a weather event, you should be making sure that you're not having an event in the building, frankly. I mean, in general terms, you should be fine, but when you have some significant event, something could potentially happen. So when you look at all of these things, there's a fairly high price tag to address them. By the time you add in all of the prevailing wage and general conditions and everything else, we're probably looking at a situation that's in the neighborhood of probably between $1 and $1.5 million. Now, that's something that, again, it really should be tempered by the fact the next step really is to have structural engineer who deals with these types of structures do a full-on design for what's going to be required. And then it could be much more closely priced in terms of the exact work that's included. But then I would suggest for and it's probably the timing is super tight, between now and when the the CFA grants come out, that's basically the end of July. But, I definitely is something that, I would recommend that you go after a CFA grant for, some of the restoration work on here. There's a specific historic preservation grant that is through New York State Parks, their historic preservation grant, which is part of the Environmental Protection Fund monies. I haven't seen this year's cap, whether it's going to be $500,000 or $600,000. That's what it's. Last year it was 500,000. It was 600,000 3 years ago, the year before the pandemic. So it'll probably be somewhere in that range.
Mark, is that a matching grant?
It is a matching grant. So
1-to-1?
and I believe in your situation, it's 1-to-1. It does depend on your census tract, and I think you are in a 1-to-1 situation. And in more distressed areas, it's 75% grant, 25% matching. But I think you're in the 50-50 category. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have. I know this is sort of the first blush. Happy to answer questions either, today, or if you have additional questions afterwards, I'm happy to answer them as well.
This is causing me
Has
to.
anyone had a chance to review the document yet?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it's a heavy lift. And, to sift through this, I think it's important and prioritize it. I think we just need to, decide what we need to do first and concentrate on that. I don't, and I'd like to hear from other people who were involved. But it's a good start. I mean, but yeah, it's going to cost us a bundle, but it's worth preserving, and I don't know how we go about doing that. So maybe as a board, with some help from some other people who know what they're doing, maybe we can figure out a way to get started. I don't know.
So that, we deal with a lot of different cultural organizations, and we're certainly happy to work with you to sort of understand what some of the potential is. I mean, as a municipality, there are certain things that you can take advantage of, but then other things that you can't. So, with Universal Preservation Hall up in Saratoga Springs, there was a larger project, and they were in a situation where they had a not-for-profit that owned the building. They created a for-profit entity to be able to take advantage of the tax credits. But here, it frankly wouldn't make sense. I mean, there's too many sort of obstacles in your way to create something like that. And even if you did, they were able to take the state credit because at the time they were in a distressed census tract, and they no longer are, but you're not there to start with, so you couldn't even take advantage of half of the credits that they got. But there might be some advantage of having a not-for-profit that helps you you know, get grant funding, you know, for the facility as well. I mean, we just had one of the things that you really have going in your favor is the Oregon is a National Historic Landmark, which is the highest level that you can get. And in addition to the grants that you know, are coming out as part of CFA in July, you can tag team some of those grants with excuse me, some others. So for instance, there's a grant that Gary looked at, which is they have grant application deadlines both in May and September for facilities like this. There are also there's a much bigger pot of money that is associated with Save America's Treasures, which is that deadline will be next spring. But you know, you end up with, you know, a number of different grants that, you know, if you can piggyback them together, you know, you can potentially use one of the federal grants, you know, as a match against your state grant and so forth. So, you know, then, you know, the municipality is much less out of pocket, you know, if you can make that happen.
Mark, is there, and I'm sorry, I don't know if anybody can actually see me. I know you can hear me. One of the things then I would ask is, if we were to pursue multiple opportunities, is there a specific route to go? Would it be prudent on our part to look for somebody who specializes in making these things happen?
Well, you definitely do need to have somebody that can help with the state, you know, well, with any of the grants. I mean, you really need somebody to look very closely. You know, whether that be, you know, us helping you or another grant writer helping you. I mean, we're not professional grant writers, but we do often help clients do that. And in fact, I must say, you know, we've been very successful, thankfully, with that. Caroga Arts Collective, they just got $1 million for their new performance hall that we're working with them on, and they were one of only 2 in the state. We helped them write that grant. We helped write the Save America's Treasures grant for the Tesla Science Center down in Long Island. And, you know, it really is just simply making sure that you get ahead of the game. You really understand what they're looking for, and it's time consuming. So, you know, it is something that is a commitment on everybody's part. So even if you have, you know, somebody assisting you to write it, somebody on the village end is going to have to be, you know, interfacing on that and, you know, spending a reasonable amount of time to get a lot of other information that, you know, only the village will be able to provide. And so, you know, oftentimes they'll be thinking about things like not only your, you know, fiscal management and things like that, which, you know, you'll be able to pull all of those things together, but you know, they'll look at the preservation end, which, you know, we could certainly help you craft, you know, that story and you know, the need for the work. But they also look for, you know, what is your public outreach? So, you know, if they're going to give you a bunch of money, they want to know that, you know, the public is getting a lot out of it. So the fact that this is really literally, you know, and culturally the heart of your community, you know, it has, you know, a lot of different public events, you know, again, those are all things that play in your favor. as you go after a grant, and you have to make sure that you document that well, in the grant application. So, but you're never guaranteed, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I would suggest, in addition to, everything else, yes, some work on a tower actually needs to be done, at least stabilization of some of those joints, even if you did nothing else. Right now, let's say you were going to do more extensive work, once you got the grant, you still have to do some things that are like upfront, and like, let's make sure some of these, if nothing else, have a steel plate, connecting these pieces that are separated at this point.
Thank you.
Mark, it was just mentioned in the chat here on the side of the Zoom that the village had received a Save America's Treasures grant already. And it was thought that maybe that's only you can only get that once once for the building ever. I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that one. Obviously we could look that up.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
I am not sure.
Defer to Lydia on that. She'd know.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact time, but I think it was in the 2000s.
Okay.
There was a
Within
plaque
last-
on the side of the building for a while. It's, I think, since come down, but we'll look it up.
Okay, any more questions for Mark? Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, moving on to Superintendent.
Oh, I'll make this quick. Everything's been going good. We've just been getting ready, getting everything same as usual, broken down, and getting ready for spring, breaking out the mowers and so forth. Things have been going good. Finishing up on the garage and the interior. We still need to replace the front and back door. Besides that, I guess I'll wait until we get to the agenda on the truck, but things are moving along, getting ready for spring. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer.
Okay,
Oh, there she is.
so I emailed everyone the monthly financial report. And then there's one resolution that I need. Trivia night proceeds totaling $1,100 have been donated to the Village Auditorium. The mayor is requesting use of these funds to pay for 1 year of motion picture licensing. Resolution is requested to increase the auditorium donations revenue account A2708 and the Culture and Rec contractual expense account A7560.4, both by $1,000 to cover the cost of the license. And then I put the budget entry below.
I'll make that motion.
Second, discussion? Okay, Matt seconded. Discussion, it's, the cost of the license isn't 1,100, it's $689, but the money's got to go somewhere, so. Cole?
Ready? Tom? first?
Yes. Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Tina? Gary?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's it for me. The abstract is large this month, you'll notice, but that's because the annual payment to the host company in the amount of $320,500 is in there. So that's why it's so big. But that's all.
Do we have enough signatures, Jess? or do we need more?
We do not. We still need signatures.
All right, I'll come in tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Okay, we had 35 calls last month. We're still running ahead of last year. Been busy, a little bit of everything. Right, Tina?
Oh, yeah. We had 3 motor vehicles today.
Three car accidents today. People, I think the nice weather don't know how to drive anymore. And we've also gone all over the place. Usually in the springtime, you make a resolution allowing us to go to parades. So if you could do that tonight, I don't know your exact wording, but it's basically just to allow us to go to parades outside our district. We keep them minimal. We go to Saratoga's, probably the farthest north. We go to Burn Hills for one, Clifton Park for a couple. And that's about the distance that we go.
I suggest we find the language from the previous year. And I'd make a motion to approve based on what we were doing last year. I don't know the exact.
You may have to go back a couple years because we haven't been to a parade probably in 20 years.
Okay.
So,
I'm looking. I'll see if I can find it.
somewhere it's been in there. Also, I mentioned last month that we were looking at an additional truck. We met with the engineer and we're going to go move forward with that. I talked to Jess to find out, where we stand financially. We have 2 more payments left on the other truck. So that truck will be paid off before we start anything new. And my plan is to have half to 3/4 of the amount saved in our capital reserve account before we have to pay any money on a new truck. We're going to piggyback off a bid like we did the last time we bought the trucks, where we take somebody else's bid and we just piggyback off of that. Again, I'll have all the information so, Tom can look it over like he did the last time just to make sure everything's correct. I'll come back to you probably next month with a price. We're trying to move things along a little bit because they've announced a 15% price increase that's going to take effect this summer, and we want to get in before that because basically we paid $600,000 for a couple of years ago. Now smaller is in the 8s, so we don't want any more price increases. And we're looking at 2 to 2.5 years before we get anything. So I will come back to you next month with a price and hopefully get your blessing, and then we'll move forward. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
CEO, nope. Parking animal, nope. Sharon,
Hi. Let's see, on the auditorium. So much was accomplished during the last month. There was a launch of the auditorium's new website. We had a really good team working on all the details, and we will continue to keep the website up to date. Basically at this time, we're in the contracting phase, and that will take about 3 weeks to get all of the contract information in and out. Recently, much time has been spent on the physical nature of the auditorium. The deep clean is scheduled. We met with a number of people in regards to that. We also have scheduled to clean out under the stage. And we have a church, a community group in Malta who will come and help us as a community project to clean out under the stage. So we'll order a dumpster and get that part of it under control. That will be a big thing done. And we notified all the parties who have things back there that to either mark what has to go or what has to be saved. And so everyone is aware of what is going on. One of the things that I did notice, and what I would like to request is that we have a $10,000 maybe from the municipal building reserve fund to be earmarked for the auditorium for repairs that are not structural, as we just went through there, right? But just so we can keep up to date with fixing things. Like there's locks on the doors that are broken. The bathrooms certainly need some attention, including a new toilet, fixing doorknobs, the normal wear and tear that we can keep up on and not get behind on. So if that could happen, that would put us in a really good place for going ahead and keeping the building presentable. And that's all I have for this month.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
AP3, Lydia, anything?
Just a couple things, but first of all, I looked at Save America's Treasurer's website, and we got that grant in 2002 in the amount of $225,000. And it says right here, individual projects are only eligible for one grant. Individual structures or collections that have received a Save America Treasurer grant in the past are not eligible for additional funding. So I actually sent an inquiry to through Tonko's office to see if a grant for the organ would be considered a same grant, and I got this very weird, ambiguous answer. So it's possible that we could get one specific to the organ. So, but that's, you know, off in the distance somewhere. The one thing I wanted to talk to the board about tonight was that we have taken Sharon's concern about environmental factors over there into consideration, and would like to purchase some fans to put on the posts, since the condition report urges us not to place things on the ceilings at this time. So we were looking at a very pricey fan to try out, and we're going to order 2 and see if they are quiet and efficient and effective. But I'm personally having second thoughts on this and set around a message to the group, because each fan is $760. And even if this is a wonderful, perfect fan, I really don't think we're going to invest a whole lot of money in fans at that price. And it might make more sense to look at, you know, less fancy fans. But that topic is still under discussion, because I reopened it, all my own fault. Since we would be actually sticking something onto the structure of the auditorium, I wanted to be sure that the board would be okay with that. So what do you think?
I mean, mounting them is probably not a huge issue, is it? I mean, it's not structural work. It's just screwing some screws in, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I think there's probably some wiring involved as well, but it's just, you know, we don't own the auditorium. We can't make decisions about screwing things in there. So,
I think it would be appreciated myself.
So I see this as like a pilot project, see how it goes. And, you know, maybe it will be quiet enough and effective enough so we want to invest in them. And that is what I was thinking. Scott, was there something? I see Scott Rigney's on the call. Was there anything else I needed to talk about?
No, I think basically that was it. Like you said, we're still discussing on the price of the fan and the actual quietness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I think
okay.
that's a major concern is with how quiet the fans will be, and I think I agree with you. We should look a little bit deeper into maybe getting something a little bit on the less expensive side.
Yeah,
but,
it seems to me $760 for a fan is a lot, the more I think about it. So, all right, thanks. That's all I have, I think.
Okay, thank you, Lydia. And now we have our newest feature of the on our report schedule, the clerk report.
Yay. All right, well, just a couple of things. We had a successful Easter candy hunt last week. Most of the village kids were there, and thank you to Alice Knott, who organized it and made it happen. So that's great. Congressman Tonko is going to be holding mobile office hours tomorrow in the community room, 10:30 to 12:30. You need an appointment to sit and talk with him. There's some, I think, Gary, you sent out a message about needing to call his office to make an appointment. So I'm sure there's room still. We received a complaint about repeated vandalization of the light at the Veterans Memorial. I think Gary, it's the one that lights up the flag. And Dan Cummings I think was coming today to make the repair. But the person who made that complaint wanted it known so we could all be vigilant and watch and see who might be doing this, because it's happened, I think, 3 times in the past 2 months. So it's something that need to see what's going on with that. I've ordered replacement amber glass for the auditorium windows. We only had a few pieces, so I ordered a bunch more. I did have a vendor, Clifton Park Glass, set to do the project. And now they're kind of backing away because I don't really understand how public work works. So I have called a second vendor and hope to talk to them tomorrow and schedule them in to do the work. We've got the drainage, the North End drainage project. The bids are coming due next Thursday. We've received 16 inquiries so far from different contractors. And I was going to suggest that we have a workshop in early May so we can pull the trigger on who's going to do it. I think that would be a good use of time. That would be May 4th. And lastly, you guys who are up for election, you can start to get signatures now for your paperwork. You need to get 18.
Kim, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What was the opening date for that and the closing date for getting signatures? Do you know offhand?
Opening date was the 19th.
Yeah, opening
and the
date.
Closing day, I
yesterday.
think, is May 24th,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. All right,
May
thank you.
24th. I can confirm that with you guys, but
Yeah,
it's
okay.
approximately that. You've got about 5 weeks to get signatures.
Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Gary, I have the resolution for the parades pulled
good.
up. Do you want me to do that now or wait?
Now is fine.
Okay. Now I gotta find it again. There we go. Go back. Geez, I just wait a second here. Okay, I found it. I'll make a resolution that the Village Board of Trustees approves using the fire trucks and equipment during parades within a reasonable distance from Clifton Park to Saratoga.
Second.
Discussion?
All aye.
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 Matt, can you tell me what year we did it? Where are you pulling it from?
It's from 4/16/2019.
Thank you.
So I was on
You're
here.
a ventriloquist, amazing.
That was- yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was synced up pretty good too. Thanks, Tina.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All righty, under old business, adopt budget 2022-2023. Whereas a public hearing on the tentative budget was held on Wednesday, April 6th, 2022 at 6:45 p.m., at which time all persons wishing to be heard were heard. Now therefore it is resolved that the Round Lake Board of Trustees adopts the 2022-2023 budget. Resolved by the mayor. Second,
Yeah, I'll second it.
Tom second. Discussion?
I just like to, and I apologize if you can't see me. I'm so unskilled at this business that I feel if I touch a button, I'm going to lose everything. So I'm just keeping it the way it is. But anyway, I just wanted to thank Gary, Kim, and Jesse on this. I'm not sure everybody understands how difficult it is to balance a budget, to come up with a fair tax rate, given all your other expenses. and jiggle the numbers and have the skills and the insight to understand that there may be a little bit more in this category, and we can take a little from there and put it somewhere else. And I just think that goes to a great staff. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't congratulate Jesse and Kim and the mayor.
I will second that, certainly, with thanking Kim and Jesse. At me for making
Mostly
some pretty big
Jessica,
mistakes. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
And have we voted on that yet? No.
Nope.
No.
All right. We'll let you vote, Tom.
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Gary.
Yes. And next, the international truck, I sent around an email today indicating that the price went up 18,000. So the resolution that Kim sent around is still good, but the price hike of 18,000 will take out of DPW equipment, which is up to about 96,000 or so. So originally we were going to take more, but Matt suggested we take it out of unfunded, unallocated fund balance rather than do that. But those good intentions went awry when the price went up. So whereas the village wishes to purchase a 2024 International HV607 truck with reserve funds, therefore be it resolved that the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees authorizes the transfer of $170,000 from the general unrestricted fund balance and $50,000 from the water fund unrestricted fund balance to the DPW equipment reserve. And be it resolved that the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees authorizes the purchase of a new 2024 International Truck Model HV607 for estimated $220,000 to be paid from these newly transferred funds in the DPW equipment reserve. Resolved by the mayor.
Quick question, Gary. The 220 includes the price hike or not?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Matt, second.
Yeah.
The 220 does not include the price hike. That would come out of the DPW equipment reserve.
So then we need to amend the second part of the resolution to say that we authorize the purchase estimated at whatever, 240.
Well, this amendment is, oh, okay, I see what you're
Two
saying.
parts. Yeah,
So change 220 to
So-
240.
whatever came in, 240, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to say 170 from general UFB, 50 from water UFB, and the additional, whatever that is? How much is that additional? An additional 20
Well, this
from,
I think the first part authorizes the transfer and the second part authorizes the purchase. So we don't need to talk, I don't think we need to put in the first part, the DPW, because the balance is going to come from the DPW reserve.
Gotcha,
I
okay.
agree.
So just change the
Just
number.
change it to 240.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, discussion. John, anything?
The only thing I'd say is after we just heard from Frank and what we've learned in the last couple of weeks about where these prices are going,
Yeah.
I think we got to jump on this. That's just my personal feeling.
Agree.
Yeah, I would agree. After talking with him, I see more price hikes coming. So, I mean, we just experienced it as well with the F-350, which consisted of a lot less metal and labor. So if we don't jump on this, I don't foresee us getting this truck.
I mean, that was a price hike of like $18,000 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, makes sense. Do we want to vote?
Yeah,
Oh,
what
sorry,
hap-
John.
oh, I'm sorry. But what happened is International has not changed their price much, but the cost of steel and labor is what the same thing that happened with the F-350 is what killed us. The truck itself didn't go up. It was the add-ons, the box, the plows, and so forth. So, and I've talked to other superintendents, and it's the same. The fire chief, it's the same everywhere. So I don't think it's going to get any better.
So John, you want to come in tomorrow and we'll do the letter of intent so we can lock it in. We should do
Yes.
that first. We should do, when you come to do payroll tomorrow, bring your timesheets, we'll do it right away.
Well, that may be a problem. I have a doctor's appointment rather early, so it'll have to be after. But what I'm going to do is call Mark Rizzo and
All right.
let him know that.
Yep, and then I'll work on it. I have it started already, so, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, good. Should we ready to vote?
Yep.
Tom,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty, next, auditorium deep cleaning. Whereas the Village of Round Lake has decided to hire ACTS cleaning services to do a thorough cleaning of the auditorium for $7,000. And whereas Women's Round Lake Improvement Society has agreed to contribute $1,800 towards that cost. Therefore, be it resolved that the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees authorizes paying ACTS cleaning services the balance of $5,200 from unrestricted fund balance. And be it resolved that the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor to sign a contract with ACTS cleaning services in a form approved by the village attorney. Resolved by the mayor. Seconded by
Second.
Tom, is that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Discussion?
The only thing I'll add is that I think last time we had talked about maybe seeking money elsewhere also, and obviously we can pay this up front now, but I think we had talked about trying to maybe talk about who was the company that I'm blanking on the name. The guys that come here for like a month in July.
Carpe diem.
Yeah, Carpe Diem. Sorry, we had talked about maybe asking them for some money too. So maybe we can. Oh, somebody's just said Warless has not had the second vote to approve the spending yet in the chat box.
Mhm.
I feel fairly confident that they would approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's all I'll add to that is if we had, let's just see if we can reach out to them too, to talk about maybe some, for them chipping in on the cleaning.
Paul?
Tom, we'll
Yes.
vote.
Mhm.
Matt?
Yes.
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Gary?
Yes. Okay, next we have the Dan Pesca contract. Be it resolved that the Round Lake Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor to sign the contract with Dan Pesca for the 2022 auditorium season. Resolved by the mayor, seconded by
Second.
Tina. Discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Yeah, Tom,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
and Gary.
Yes.
Fiona votes yes too.
I was just gonna say that.
I mean, how she hasn't barked, that's remarkable. Tree inventory. Be it resolved that the Round Lake Board of Trustees approves the request for proposals for creation of a tree inventory and community forest management plan. That was sent around to you. It was done by Stuart Galway and his the tree committee.
Yep.
So resolved by the mayor,
Second.
seconded by Matt. Discussion?
Just a great idea. Glad
Yeah.
to have them on
Long
board.
time coming.
Absolutely.
A good job.
Wonderful effort.
All aye.
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 Next,
Aaron,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we should discuss how that's going to, how the RFPs are gonna come in, because I think I'm handling some of that. So next time you're in,
Okay.
thank you.
Municipal buildings maintenance. Be it resolved that the Round Lake Board of Trustees authorizes the transfer of $150,000 from the unrestricted fund balance to the Municipal Buildings Maintenance Reserve Fund. Resolved by the mayor.
Second.
Discussion?
Do we need to do anything? I know Sharon had mentioned, keeping a little bit for, wear and tear for the season, and, do we need to state that, or, was it,
No.
we'll just, okay,
I think just having the plural municipal buildings kind of covers it.
all right, yeah. Because I'm sure there's gonna be, odd jobs, as she
Yeah.
said, will need to get done, so, okay, that's good.
That was the intent of wording it
Yeah.
that way. Municipal buildings.
Yeah, I put the S on the buildings.
Discussion?
Okay. All aye?
Aye.
All righty, and new hose company volunteer. Again, we can't do it in an executive session, and so be it resolved that the Round Lake Board of Trustees accepts a new member, Jordan Smith, to the fire department effective 4/20/22. And this is subject to trustees signing the application.
Yes.
Yes.
Resolved by the mayor. Tina, second. Discussion? Poll?
All aye?
Aye.
Correspondence.
Yeah, just give me one sec. I do have some.
Or 3, I think.
Just a reminder, I probably should have said it during my report, but there's a bulky waste drop-off happening in Malta. You do not need to make an appointment. And it is from April 30th to May 7th. Containers will be placed at the Town of Malta complex on weekend to weekend at 9 a.m. to 3. Just a valid driver's license or proof of residency must be produced. Okay, that's one thing. Stewart Shops, we received $1,000 holiday match grant. Came through, that the check just came since the last meeting. We'll be using it for children's programming, including the Malta Town Camp will be coming to see Carpe Diem's performance. We'll be using the money for that, to pay for that. Arbor Day celebration, April 30th. At Schoolhouse Hill. So that's happening. There've been posters around. And I think that is it for me.
Just make a minor correction to the bulk pickup, Kim. It's
Yeah.
April 30th and May 7th, not April 30th.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
not all week long.
No,
Okay.
unfortunately,
Okay.
just
All
those
right,
2 days from 9 to 3.
And Malta cleanup day or Round Lake cleanup day?
Yes, Round Lake Cleanup Day is this Saturday.
Okay.
I think it's 9 o'clock.
I believe so.
Coffee and donuts in the community room and pizza at lunchtime, something like that. We got two sets of minutes, I think, the 16th of March and April 6th also.
Can we do them both at the same time?
Was everybody there?
You could, if there's no corrections.
Yeah, I didn't
I'll
see any.
move, we do, oh, sorry, Gary.
I didn't see any corrections.
I didn't either. I'll move them both if we can move them both at the same time.
Second.
Sure.
Discussion?
All aye on both?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Approval of abstract.
Move to approve, I guess, pending the signatures of everybody.
In the amount of 490,715.05.
Yes.
Second.
Discussion. Poll.
All I.
Aye.
Aye. Village attorney. Words of wisdom? No words of wisdom. I am all out of words of wisdom as well. Trustees?
I have a request from the village attorney for the village attorney. And I don't know, I guess he can hear me. I don't know. Let's see. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I was reading, and this is related to a proposal for a development up on the north end of New York Avenue, but it is not specific to that particular thing. I was noticing in our definitions, chapter 180 of our zoning, article 2, the word uses and definitions, we have a definition for cottage zoning planned development districts. We describe clustered zoning in that particular definition in chapter 180. If we go to 150, article 8 in the 158.41 requirement to cluster, we just say that all major residential subdivisions shall be clustered. We do not describe what a cluster means. And so for a PDD cluster, cottage style cluster, we have a definition. But for a non-PDD major subdivision, residential subdivision, we don't have a description of what we mean by cluster. And I was wondering if you could develop a short description of what we mean by that, that we can discuss at another meeting or perhaps soon. And so we can insert that into our Article 8 stuff. So there's never a question, going forward.
All right, I will draft and circulate a discussion draft of a definition for cluster zoning to be used in connection with our cluster zoning law. And I'll base it on the definition contained in the cottage zoning provision.
Fine, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I like to get something on paper because there's a little bit of a disconnect here. And I don't think there's a lot of detail. I don't want to go into a lot of detail now because we may have to go into some detail later on. But, and this is irrelevant to the current proposal because anything new doesn't apply to that proposal. So, but I'd like to see if we could get some kind of coordination between the two, the definitions and the Article 8 stuff. So we have a fairly clear picture of what we expect.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, John.
And public comment? Any comment from the public?
I have one,
You
Gary.
okay there, Scott? You sound like you're being electrocuted. Or shaving.
Sorry. Hold on. Let me show. Can you sound all right or no?
That's good.
Let me get off.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep, that's better.
Okay. I've gotten word from
I think, I'm sure most everybody's heard that Florence Cruz passed away around, she passed away on the Christmas Eve. I got a call from her son Dimitri, and he's going to be holding a memorial service for her on the 7th of May, which is a Saturday, at Christ the Savior Orthodox Church, which is on East Line Road, with a reception to follow at Finnegan's, which is the old Good Times Balago. I just want permission to be able to, it's okay if I post this on the either the village board or on the front of the post office?
Yeah, and get me the info and I'll include that in an email that goes out.
Very good. Yeah, and it's like I said, everyone that knew Florence is invited to come, and so we spread the word out. I know it's on the day actually that we're doing our village-wide garage sale, so kind of difficult. But anyway, just if you could pass that along, it'd be great.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, before we adjourn, I have a very important question. Tina, how do you get your video so good?
What?
How is your video so, why is your video so much better than mine?
I have no idea.
What kind of lighting do you have? I mean, it's awesome.
I mean, I use the blur background, but
Oh, that's,
But well, Gary, at the risk of sounding like a Neanderthal sexist, she's better looking than you are.
well, that,
But you have that big bulb behind you that's
Yeah,
a
you
huge
do.
glare.
well, no, that's not a bulb. It's a map of Round Lake and I'm trying to highlight it, but it didn't work too well.
It looks like the sun. Looks like the sun back there.
Maybe I'll use the blur foreground. That should work.
There you go. There you go.
I'll have to look for that one. Alrighty, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
second.
Okay.
All in
So
favor?
moved. Okay. Good
All right,
night,
thank you
everybody.
all.
Okay,
Night,
thank you.
everybody.
Bye.